What are the best games for the Oculus Quest on SideQuest? There is a ton of stuff on there, so how do you shovel through it and find the good stuff and separate it from the not so good stuff? Well, that's what we're going to do today. Timestamps are down in the description for all of the games. Let's go ahead and check it out. First up, first-person shooters. First on the list, I'm not really sure technically is a shooter as much as it is an archery battle royale game, but I'm going to count it anyways. HiBow Archery Battle Royale is honestly one of the most fun games I've played online in a little while. It's got a really unique locomotion system, and if you've played Air Ranger, then you'll probably recognize the system because it was designed and created by the same people. It's got matchmaking, it's got a lobby where you can mess around, it's got multiple types of bows and arrows. I really love the flight system in this game where you use an arrow to fling yourself through the air. Overall, it's just a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a battle royale game, especially if you love archery, this is definitely one to check out. Plus, it's totally free on SideQuest right now because it is in a beta stage. There are multiple different game types you can play, and they're consistently updating the game with more content as well. So if you like archery or just battle royale, I definitely recommend checking out this game. Next up on the list is Contractors. Now I know Pavlov gets all of the hype, and that is on the list too, but my personal favorite actual online FPS on the Oculus Quest is actually Contractors. I just really love the way that the guns handle in this game, the way the loadout works, and overall it's just a lot of fun. Contractors allows you to jump into online matches with online players. It does include cross-play as well, which allows you to have even more players potentially online to be able to play. There are multiple different levels you can play in, multiple modes. You can customize your loadout, and if you're looking for an online FPS, Contractors is a great option. Now, if you're not into Contractors, maybe you'll be into Pavlov. Pavlov is another very popular online FPS, and a lot of people prefer it over Contractors, although I'm not one of them. This game actually feels more like it's based on Counter-Strike than many other things, including the weapons buying system in the game, the way that the levels are set up, even some of the way visually some of the levels are. It feels a lot like you're jumping into a VR Counter-Strike. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, if you're looking for an online FPS, you can't go wrong with either Contractors or with Pavlov Shack. Well, it can't be said there aren't online first-person shooters, especially if you're on SideQuest for the Quest, because Hyperdash is another online first-person shooter, except for it's got some unique aspects to it. One of the unique aspects is the locomotion, which includes sliding on rails, which makes for a very interesting target if you're trying to shoot someone or someone's trying to shoot you. Hyperdash currently has 3 different game modes: Payload, Domination, and Deathmatch. Hyperdash is a 5 versus 5 online shooter, and there is some interesting modes. I like the Payload mode. I think it's a lot of fun, and it adds a unique aspect to the game itself. Hyperdash is a very fast-paced game, and you'll die a lot of times or kill a lot of people if you are really good at the game. This is in alpha right now, just like the other 2 shooters. It's not a full-on release, but that also means, like the other 2 shooters, it's absolutely free right now. So again, if you're looking for a great multiplayer game that a lot of people can play and is a lot of fun, check out Hyperdash. Now, the next 2 games on this list are what I would consider first-person shooters, but they're more arcade first-person shooters. The first is Shooting Arena. Shooting Arena is essentially a VR arcade shooting range with unique locations, and each location gives you different targets to shoot. There's 3 different arcade modes: survival, accuracy, and time attack, and you can even switch your weapon out. Now, this is an arcade-style shooter, so there's no locomotion, but honestly, if you're looking for something that's just fun to play and you can blast some targets and can be very challenging depending on how you play it and the difficulty level, it's actually pretty awesome. Just like a lot of stuff on SideQuest, this game is also in beta, but again, that also means that it is free. Last on my shooter list is Crisis Brigade. We definitely can't leave that off because it's a very unique game that is a lot of fun. Crisis Brigade is another kind of arcadey style game, but it's more like a light gun game that you would play in an arcade. And you'll have to take cover if you don't want to get your head blown off and try to fight against these baddies in this extremely difficult game. Crisis Brigade is known for being very hard and frustrating, so if you're one to give up or one to not like difficult games, then I would not suggest downloading this game. Next up, let's talk hand tracking games. First on the list is, in my opinion, the best example of hand tracking, regardless of whether it's on SideQuest or the official store, and that is Hand Physics Lab. Hand Physics Lab is more of an experimental game, but I had to put it on this list because I love all of the different things you can do. Whether it's painting Easter eggs, putting a knife through the fleshy part of your hand in VR, or throwing and smashing things, the game has a lot of unique parts to it that allows you to really experiment with the hand tracking for the Oculus Quest. If you're looking for a way to showcase hand tracking or to try out the potential, I definitely suggest checking out Hand Physics Lab. Number 2 is the Cubism Demo. Cubism is a puzzle game where you grab the different cubes and you try to place them inside of the outline. It works really well with hands. It kind of reminds me of a combination of Tetris and some sort of puzzle other game where you're fitting jigsaw puzzle pieces together in some way or another. It can be very challenging, but it's really cool to be able to move things around with your hands. I definitely suggest checking it out if you like puzzle games and you're interested in checking out hand tracking as well. It is free because it's a demo. There are several levels to play, and it's just really cool. Another unique experimental kind of experience is Mr. Scribbles. Mr. Scribbles uses hand tracking to allow you to use gestures and hand motions to create a universe. I've only played very little of this, but it's very unique and it was definitely memorable. It allows you to really experiment with sound, color, the hand motions in hand tracking. In fact, there's some unique gestures in this game that I think are really cool that other games could learn from to really elevate what they're doing with hand tracking. If you know anything about me, then you know that I love anything that has to do with wizards and magic, and that means Handspell, the hand tracking demo on the Oculus Quest. Now, this is pretty short, but this game is an RPG-like game with roguelike elements, except you'll be using your hands to actually combat the enemies. It's pretty simple, both visually and what's there right now, but it does allow you to see the potential for future hand tracking in this type of game. Last on this list is multiplayer hand tracking, which is really cool. What this does is allow you to actually jump into a room with someone else using the same multiplayer hand tracking application, and you can talk to each other, high five, wave, give each other a thumbs up, whatever. It's a unique multiplayer experience, which is very rare with hand tracking right now. So it adds a level of interaction to the game that is far beyond just standing in someone and waving a controller at them. Being able to say peace out, shake someone's hand, it's a really unique and I guarantee you unforgettable experience, even though it's still rough and just a demo. Next up, let's talk what I'm calling simulators. First one on the list is called, I think, Deisim or Deisim, or I'm not sure exactly to say it. It's a simulator anyways where you play as a deity. It's up to you to build your own world from scratch. In fact, the description says, help mankind evolve from the Stone Age to the Industrial Age. You're able to perform miracles, you can help out with resources, or you could be a jerk and cause natural disasters and make them suffer. Unlike all of the games on this list so far, this game actually costs $7.99, but there is a lot of content here and it continues to be updated. Another what I would call simulator is Crazy Kung Fu, and I featured this on the channel a little while ago. It's actually quite enjoyable, and they are continuing to add more to the game as well. In Crazy Kung Fu, you play as a crazy Kung Fu student as you're trying to learn how to dodge, block, and punch the spinning targets. This gets freaking hard. I've played past what I played in the video, and it gets very difficult, and you really got to learn how to dodge, block, and punch pretty much simultaneously so you can really get past these targets. There is a demo if you want to try it out on SideQuest, or to buy the whole game, it costs $9.99. Next up, we have High Seas. Now, I played this a while ago too, and this is really freaking creepy if you are not a fan of big waves or deep oceans. Honestly though, High Seas is a really cool sort of simulator where you take on the role of the captain of this ship trying to make your way north. The goal is to just keep going north until you get to your location. I'm not really sure if there's actually a location as I've never actually made it there, but that is the goal. Or at least I think that's the goal. I can't remember which direction you're actually supposed to go if it is north, but yes, you are supposed to go in a direction and continue on in that direction. One cool aspect of this game is the Guardian adaptive scenes. So there's multiple scenes inside of this game, whether you're on the bridge, in the engine room, etc. So the actual rooms are based on your Guardian size. So they'll expand or get smaller based on the size of your actual Guardian. You'll have to navigate the icebergs, make sure your engine is still running, put out some fires, and watch out for those rogue waves. It is free, it is fun, and if you want to try to survive the ocean, then I recommend checking it out. Next up, we have Descent Alps. Now, I have not played this on the channel, but I have been playing it recently, and it is really cool. Descent Alps is a rhythm-based skiing game. Just like with a lot of other games, this is a pre-release version, so it's free, but there is a lot of content already here you can play around with. The art style is unique, it can be really fast-paced. It's one of those games that challenges you to learn it and get good at it and keep trying until you master it. Last on our simulators list is Car Parking Simulator. Now that sounds, like I mentioned in my video, incredibly boring, but it's actually pretty intriguing and relaxing. You're able to jump into vehicles and park your car in different parking spots. There are several different vehicles that you can play, multiple levels that you can do, and there's also a new update called the City Update. The city driving mode allows you to drive around a city, which I have not checked out yet, but I would like to because it looks like it's another addition to a already pretty cool game. This game is not free. It does cost $9.99, but there are a total of 45 levels right now with multiple vehicles, including a Formula One car that you can unlock, and they are continuing to add more content as well. All right, let's talk about a couple of action, adventure, RPG style games. Although there aren't a ton of this style game on SideQuest, this game is one that I have been playing lately and really enjoying. I'm not really sure how to say the name. It's like Arcaxer or something along those lines, but it is a lot of fun. This game is a turn-based RPG that reminds me of games like Final Fantasy or those other Japanese RPG style games. Now this is another paid game, but there is a demo on there. The game is actually in early release and they're adding a ton of content, but in order to get access to the full experience and continued support, that is $25. That might sound like a lot for a SideQuest game, but let me tell you more about the game itself. I'm actually going to read this right from the description because it tells it perfectly. This game is a turn-based RPG with first-person action-oriented combat and a third-person God view overworld, which I think is really unique. I like the idea. I like being able to control my character walking around the world, and when I jump into a battle, it goes into first person, allowing me to actually cast spells, slash with a sword. It's a really cool experience, and I really enjoy the battles in this game. There's actually 3 different classes you can choose, which I thought was also unique. You can do fighter, thief, or mage. I obviously went for the mage, and I really like the gesture-based magical attacks. This is an early version of the game, but I tell you what, try out the demo and I think you will really enjoy it. The fact that it's procedurally generated with procedural random enemies and loot, and you can continue to upgrade your character with gear, you can choose your path, it's just a really cool experience. So try out the demo if you're not convinced. I personally am going to continue to play the game, and I'm actually working on a video for the channel right now. Next up, we've got Vanishing Grace, which I would consider an adventure style kind of exploratory or at least story-based game. This is a pre-alpha demo, but it is free. Now, this is an early version. This isn't a long experience as of yet, but it gives you some interactions. It gives you some of the story and allows you to see kind of where this is going. And it's a very enjoyable already. So if you like story-based games with some adventure and interaction type stuff, then definitely check this out. One more quick demo we're going to talk about for this category, and that is another one I don't know how to pronounce, Axegend. I'm assuming it's supposed to be legend with axe, but this one is a demo and it is free as well. This is a roguelike strategy type game where it puts you in dungeons, you fight against enemies, and there's even a boss battle in this demo. There's several weapons and skills you can customize, there's traps you can set. Like I said, it's an early release right now, so it doesn't have a ton of content there, but it's a demo, it's fun, and again, it's free, so why the heck not try it out? All right, now one section that I'm really excited about, unofficial ports and games. These are all games or experiences that are either an unofficial port that are modded to work or an experience that is based on another IP that is not officially supported. First up, we've got Lambda 1 VR, which is probably at the top of my list as one of the coolest Quest experiences you can play, and that is because it is playing the original Half-Life in virtual reality. You do have to own the original Half-Life game, but it's pretty darn cheap on Steam, and if you can grab it from there, then you can use this launcher and load it onto your Quest and actually play the game. The instructions are all right there. This was created by Dr. Beef, who has become the master of modding games to bring them to the Quest, and there's others on this list that are from him, as well as more coming up that we'll talk about, I'm sure, in the future coming from him as well. Another port by Dr. Beef, QuESTZDOOM, which allows you to play not just the original Doom, but also many of the mods, including things like Chex Quest and Wolfenstein. Again, you either have to own the original games or you can play some of the freeware versions, but this game is another experience that you'll never forget if you're a fan of any of these classic PC shooters. Another port by Dr. Beef is QuakeQuest and Quake2Quest. This game is very specifically listed as needing strong VR legs. It is nausea-inducing if you are not used to playing VR. It started to make me queasy some when I tried it out, just based on the fact that it is very easy to get sick from it. So if you're not used to playing VR, if you don't have really good VR legs, then don't try out this game. Next up, we have Pokemon VR. Now, this is a very unofficial game, but it's a lot of fun and it continues to get better. In fact, I just got an email from the developer, or maybe it was a message on Twitter, saying that they're adding even more content and they're continuing to update the game, and they wanted to know if I wanted to check it out. So there is more content coming to this, and there's continued fixes coming to it. I've played this with my son a couple of times on the channel, maybe 2 or 3 times. I think we played it twice, and I played it once by myself. If you love Pokemon, do yourself a favor and try it out. There's nothing like throwing a Pokeball and catching a Pokemon or battling against another Pokemon or another trainer in virtual reality. Obviously, someday it'd be awesome to have an officially supported version, but this game, for the time being, is a great way to jump in, see the Pokemon in full 6 degrees of freedom, and just mess around in the Pokemon universe. Next up, I have what I'm calling experimental, because these aren't necessarily full games or demos, they're just experimental style experiences. The first up is Physics Playground. This is more of an example of what the Quest can do than an actual game, but there is so much to play around with in Physics Playground, whether you're fighting against the bots, whether you're jumping through the air, climbing with a crowbar. There's just a lot of cool things to do. You can free run, you can experiment with the way the Quest can handle gameplay and realistic physics, and it's just a lot of fun. I've played it many times just to go in, hit things, stab things, shoot things, run around, fly through the air, whatever, you can play around with it, doing some gun moves, flipping guns, catching them, shooting, throwing things. It's just a lot of cool things you can do in this game. So if you like that type of stuff, if you're a big physics person and you like to play around with physics in virtual reality, this is a cool way to do it on the Quest. Next up, we have T for God, which is kind of a demo, I guess. It says it's under development. It's been under development for a long time, but it's a game that uses your Guardian to create the game. It's all procedurally generated, and it uses the space inside your Guardian so you physically walk around. There is no artificial locomotion, so you have to have a Guardian big enough to walk around in, but you still don't have to have a Guardian super big. I can take a small minimum size Guardian and walk around, and as long as you're not tripping over stuff or there's stuff sticking into your Guardian, you can move around and you'll feel like you've walked miles and miles. It's a really unique experience. If you have not experienced something like this, where it procedurally generates the world in the space that you have, and you're going in elevators, walking down halls, shooting at the enemies, then you definitely have to try it out. It's one of the coolest things that I've tried in virtual reality, and I think that it's a unique experience that really needs to be seen and played to understand. Last up on our experimental list is Realms of Eternity, which is kind of a proof of concept prototype of an upcoming ninja game. You can slash and cut and experiment with different weapons and archery, even has lightsabers in it. It kind of reminds me of Physics Playground for ninjas with less physics and more just messing around. It's a cool prototype, and it's something that I enjoyed for a little while. It's not something you're going to spend hours in like Physics Playground, but it's still cool to play around with a katana, a lightsaber, a bow and arrow, and there's some mini games you can play, and it's just kind of cool and something you could jump into every once in a while and mess around with. The last category is our miscellaneous / honorable mentions category. These are ones that I didn't know where to put or ones I just wanted to mention. The first one is To the Top. Now, this is a climbing game that is a lot of fun, and it's unique. It's actually already out on other VR platforms, and they couldn't get a release on the official Quest store, so they brought it to SideQuest. As such, To the Top is not a free game. It's actually $14.99, but there is a massive amount of content here. There are 35 different levels that you have to conquer and make your way to the top, which hence the name. This is a unique climbing experience where instead of actually physically climbing, you're going to grab and pull and launch yourself. That makes you feel like you're a superhero of some kind, throwing yourself through the air, grabbing onto ledges, vehicles, no matter what it is. If you can grab onto it, you can grab and throw yourself. It's a really unique and cool experience. It's a challenging one too. If you're trying to play through specifically the later levels, it gets really hard, but it is a ton of fun. And honestly, I'm surprised it didn't officially come to the Quest store because it's just really cool. Next up, we have a game called Reflex Unit 2. Now, this is not free, but they believe that there is a demo on SideQuest. It is $9.99, but there's a lot to this game. There's a campaign mode. You can play co-op. You can play versus mode. This is kind of like a top-down. I don't want to say it's like an RTS. It's a unique game where you take control of vehicles and you fight against the bad guys. It even takes place in a unique environment. It puts you in kind of a base where the center console is the location where you're fighting, and you can kind of see around you, but also look down and see a top-down view of a hologram. It's pretty cool and unique. I enjoyed it when I played it. I haven't played a ton of it, but it's pretty cool, and it has quite a bit of content there. So if this is the kind of game that you like, it's definitely something to check out. There you have it. Those are my top games for the Oculus Quest on SideQuest. What do you think are the best games? Did your game make the list, or did I miss one that should have been on there? Let me know down in the comments. If you want to get the most out of your Quest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. Plus, you can check out even more of my videos right there. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy questing.